Welcome everybody to the second lecture in the series of Ora Torah. Today we have Daniel Frank as our speaker on Shechita, and I want to let you know that last week's lecture is available as a recording on our website on WordPress, Ora Torah. So if those who missed out on last week's lecture can go back and listen to it. So thanks to Daniel who recorded it, and to Thomas Creha who's uploaded it on the website. So I welcome Daniel Frank, and the program for tonight is that Daniel's going to talk until about 7:20, 7:30. We'll have a 15-minute break, and then we'll be back into class until 8:45, 9 o'clock. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Can I ask someone actually keeps track of time, because I don't watch? That would be great. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you all for coming. Oh, brilliant. There's no touch screen, I think. But we'll figure it out. 22. Okay, tonight we'll be speaking about the topic of animal rights as perceived in the tradition, the traditional view in Judaism. It's not focusing purely on Shechita. We're going to touch on a number of issues and look at the traditional sources that are available in the Jewish tradition and see what they have to say about animal rights, the way we treat animals, the purpose of animals in the world. So, how it's going to work, we've got a number of sources on the source sheet in front of you. Whenever I can, I'm going to try and initiate some little discussion groups going, so we get a bit of interaction going through the evening. We'll see how that works out. Two things before I start. One, first of all, I'm no expert. I learned just through reading, listening to things, and the internet helped a lot. But in saying that, a lot of this has come from a shiur that I listened to by Rabbi Mordechai Befer, formerly of Melbourne. Now I think he's somewhere in the States. He's a very dynamic speaker. I recommend listening to him if you get the chance, Google him. But a lot of this is based on his shiur. So, animal rights. I'll start by we're going to look at source one. Does anyone recognize source one? Anyone know where that source is from? Have a look. 10 points if you get it. It's going down. 9 points if you get it. 8 points. 7 points. Michelle, yes. What was that? It could be. What is Shacharis?
Morning prayer.
The morning prayer, exactly. In the morning prayers, we say every day, there's a series of quick-fire blessings. About 15 of them or something. This one that you see in source 1 is the very first blessing. It is a very obscure blessing. Does someone want to read out source number 1 in English? Any volunteers? Yes?
Blessed are you, our God, King of the universe, who gave the rooster wisdom to distinguish between day and night. I'm not too sure about that. 4:30 in the morning?
Right, so that's the first question. Is this correct? Number 2, what a weird way to start the day. Okay, yeah, the rooster might have woken us up, but surely we're not happy that the rooster's waking us up at 4:30 in the morning. We're actually kind of annoyed and we want to go back to bed. So what's going on? Why do we say this blessing pretty much just after we wake up? What is the meaning? What's going on? Why do we care about the rooster? Any thoughts? Any ideas?
Say the blessing. The
What?
rooster to wake you up to say Shacharis.
So, what are you saying, that you're thanking the rooster for waking you up so that you can say the blessing to thank him?
Correct.
That seems a bit interesting logic. Okay, yeah, any other ideas?
Well, if you wake up, it means you're alive.
That's good. So it's in a way saying, thank God I'm alive. So why mention the rooster at all? What's the symbolism of the rooster? Or the symbolism of the rooster being able to differentiate? What's that?
I thought from France.
France, yeah. That's correct. Moving on.
He's a pre-alarm clock, isn't he?
Bingo. Exactly. The rooster, in a way, is an alarm clock. But okay, maybe today we don't wake up when the rooster wakes up. We wake up when our iPods go off blaring 16 times and keep snoozing, right? Well, that's just me. But in the ancient times, the rooster started crowing pretty much as soon as the light went up. It was a symbol for the community, for the people to say, hey, this is the beginning of the day, let's get up and be active and do stuff and be alive. So, essentially what we're saying, exactly what we said over here, thank God that we have the ability to wake up, to realize the difference between sleep and awake, and have this day ahead of us that we can be, productive people. But there's more to it than this. Now, the Rav Kook, he's a rabbi, I'll give you some details about him, born in 1865, died in 1935. He was the first Ashkenazi chief rabbi of Israel. Actually, it was before Israel, so it was Palestine at the time, British Mandate of Palestine. First Ashkenazi chief rabbi. He's also the former of the religious Zionist yeshiva Mekaz Arav in Jerusalem. He was very influential in the modern Orthodox world. Many of his writings today have become sort of the foundations and fundamentals of many modern Orthodox groups around the world. So Rav Kook has a whole discussion about this prayer. Typical Judaism, you take 2 or 3 words and you write books on it, right? So he had this whole concept around this prayer, and what he said is that this rooster represents the crowing of the rooster is a manifestation of the connection between the human world and the natural world. Okay, so what does that mean? Any thoughts? What does Rav Kook mean? I'll repeat it. The rooster crowing is a manifestation of the connection between the human world and the natural world. Any thoughts? Ideas?
You organize a day by an actual rooster.
Okay. Right, so it's something to do with timing. You're saying, the nature has built into it timing that allows us to be human and organize our day. Okay, yeah. Yes?
So that animals are specific or react to nature, whereas humans may decide to lay in bed on the day. The roosters out there crowing, right?
You speak about me again?
Yes.
So animals have some sort of instinct to flow with nature, as humans often ignore it and go against it. Okay, interesting. Yeah.
You said it's a manifestation between the relationship between humans and nature?
Yeah, human beings and the natural world, yeah.
Yeah, so as Hal was saying, it's interesting that we choose to change our behavior according to an animal's instincts.
That's quite an interesting point, hey? So you guys are all spot on. Essentially the idea, the core idea here, is that the world is divided into 2 types of beings, of creatures. The first is the primary creatures, and the second, the secondary creatures. Does that make sense, right? The idea in Judaism is that the secondary creatures are there to provide and support the functions of the primary creatures. The primary creatures can achieve some sort of actualization, realization. They can elevate themselves in their own will. They can choose to do certain actions to elevate themselves. But the secondary creatures cannot. They can only follow their instincts, their conditioning, and therefore can only provide support to those primary creatures. So that's the essence of that prayer. We're talking about the connection between the human world, the humans being the primary creatures, as seen in Judaism, and the animal world, the natural world, being the secondary creatures. The idea is that the secondary creatures are the support network for the ability for the humans, the first primary creatures, to go out and do their thing and elevate themselves, actualize their potential, realize their potential.
You actually don't know that the rooster doesn't think he's waking you up so you can work for him. Just the same way a dog thinks, he's getting you to throw the stick. That's just perspective.
Right. But you can choose not to throw the toy if you wanted to.
I don't have much choice about not waking up though.
You can choose to invest in earplugs. There are ways that we can manage this. While animals, like we said before, have this natural rhythm of doing things. They just do instinctual actions. Hungry, therefore eat, etc. So, we're going to move on to another point that comes out of this, about the differences between animals and humans. We look at dolphins quite often as an example of intelligent animals, and we go, oh, they're so cute, and they're so smart, and they're so, they do tricks, and free willy, and all this sort of stuff. Oh, that was a killer whale. But, right, we look at these creatures, and we go, wow, these animals have intellect, intelligent, maybe even will. Maybe they're primary creatures. But then, if we step back and we look at a lot of the acts that these animals do that don't seem so positive. For example, there's huge amounts of research that's come out in the last few years about dolphins raping and sexually harassing other dolphins. There's research that shows that seals, which are also quite cute, right, attack penguins on the ice, break their backs, and then let them bleed to death. Pretty nice creatures, eh? Pretty intelligent.
Makes them kosher.
Yeah?
Makes the penguins kosher.
Makes it kosher. Yeah, that's could be. Shechita. Yeah. Sorry, yeah.
They sound almost human.
They do sound almost human. So here's a question. Why don't we punish them? If they're so disgusting in their behaviour occasionally, by rape or murder, why don't we punish animals?
That's a very good question.
Oh, that is a good question.
I've never thought about that.
Well, we do when they do it to us.
Uh-huh.
But they do it to other animals.
So why do we make that difference?
Well, it's up to them. Let them punish each other.
There are too many of them to keep in line.
So, according to that, would you be happy to say, oh, you know, the genocides and massacres in Africa, let them just do it to each other?
No, that's human beings doing it.
Oh, but why do we make a distinction between humans and animals?
Because we're human.
Because we have a
Superior, yeah.
we have a justice system.
But why do we
Way
feel
to
that's...
punish. I mean, there is
Not in
no
Africa, yeah.
organized punishment system within the animal world.
But shouldn't we implement one?
That's
Shouldn't we have a court, you know, where the dogs come up and they're like...
We do.
You know,
That's Greenpeace,
that would imply
Oh,
SPCA.
interesting.
that would imply
Yeah.
the animals to understand their right and to be able to defend themselves. They can hire a lawyer, maybe. But
Can you imagine that?
But
Yeah.
humans only intervene when it affects them.
Ah, so, but the question still stands. Why? Why do we not care enough about the dolphins raping other dolphins? Hello. Great topic to talk about. Just come in. Dolphin rape.
I haven't got any dolphins.
Because I meant to bring some. No, not onto the subject.
Can I just bring it all out?
So Nigel, we're just talking about animals such as dolphins that have been recorded raping other dolphins, seals that have killed penguins and broken their backs and left them to bleed to death. And the question is out there, why don't we punish them? Why don't we punish them?
I don't think it would matter if we cared, or if we tried to punish them.
Okay.
There's no communication, you know, we're in different worlds.
They would not know that we punish them because they did that.
Correct.
Well, I don't know. When
they don't have the difference between good and bad.
ooh, hold that thought.
What did you say again?
You're way ahead of me.
You got it.
Yeah.
Well, because we think we can decide, but they cannot decide. So, what they're not responsible for what they are saying, but also, for what they are doing, because they react with instinct.
Right,
So
right.
they're not deciding what, even when they, well, our eyes, they behavior of the seals breaking the back of penguins.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, this very bad, but because we are judging them, but they are not judging their own actions. So,
Right. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Good. Yeah.
I'd like to just, who will need to actually know what they're doing is right? Because it could be, they could be practice hunting.
Yeah.
They could be.
So it
trying
ties
to
into what you're saying. Yeah.
Sexual contact to increase the dolphins or whatever.
Right. Right. So there could be an underlying reason that makes sense.
We are saying those things because we're judging them humans.
Right. Yeah.
They could be doing something completely different.
Is a scientist would say, this is interesting behaviour, I wonder why they're doing it, how it fits in with their survival or otherwise.
Yeah. Yeah.
But a scientist would say the same thing about human beings doing unspeakable things.
But if in a case of humans, you know, struggling for their survival, do an action that is not pretty, you know, let's say, I don't know, someone kills someone because they think it will help the greater community, still murder. We still judge them. We still say, okay, fine, we understand the conditions, but still wrong.
No, it's not wrong if Israel is attacked and has to defend itself and kills people. Is that wrong?
Well, now we're going to go, oh, okay, no,
No, you're wrong.
There's a difference between being wrong and not right.
Mm.
Wrong is not
Okay,
wrong does not mean the same thing as not right
right. So
or correct.
what would be an example between wrong and not right? How would you find a difference.
Exactly that case where you have to kill someone in order to defend yourself or something that is of considered value to you.
Yeah, yeah.
Killing them is not the right thing to do. It's not wrong.
It's
Right.
kill or be killed. I mean, obviously with Israel, either you kill your attackers
Yeah,
or you
yeah.
will be killed. Like in Syria
Okay.
now, right? You
All right.
you're dead.
Well, before we get on to Israel, because that's not on my agenda, but it's a good point. Yeah, if Israel was a dolphin, now we'd be talking. But no, it's definitely a fair point. There are different situations. But I think it really boils down to what Benoit was saying before. It's about free will. We, human beings, generally acknowledge that we have free will. We have the ability to choose between something that's morally wrong, something that's morally right, somewhere in between. An animal doesn't have that ability.
Well, some do actually.
How would you prove it?
There's been a lot of experiments, like apes can lie to other apes and deceive other apes and help other apes.
Okay. So
there's a bit of a shade. It's more of a gradual. You know, there's not an absolute. I mean, I can see that maybe in Jewish thought it is.
Yeah.
And which is totally, acceptable as a philosophical position in Judaism, but not in biology.
Yeah. I think the argument would come down to where is the line between a behavior based on conditioning and a behavior based on moral judgment. And that is a very grey area that's really impossible to draw a line.
Observing, people like Jane Goodall, who lived, spent 30 years living with the chimps.
Yeah.
It's natural behavior observed.
But is it conditioned behavior?
No.
Or is it a moral judgment?
It's natural moral behavior.
Okay.
There is moral behavior.
Okay, all right. We'll leave that open because there's a lot of discussion.
The
But
intelligent ones,
bring it-
parrots.
bring it back to the
But for
Jewish
example,
perspective.
a lion could eat its cubs,
Yeah.
right? Now, we as humans consider that outrageous and
Yeah.
we punish that behavior, but in the animal kingdom it happens.
Well, that's a
But they don't
very
kill
good
their
example.
cubs. That's because she had the cubs with another alpha lion. He's killing them because she is not,
She won't be in
the lion
season.
is not, she's not fertile unless you kill the cubs, and then he can do it, and then that's his offspring that are.
Do you know, among the cases of child abuse and child killing in New Zealand, we do it by far and away our foster fathers.
Hey, in warfare, ancient warfare, you kill the babies who take the women. It's the exact same.
So it's a very interesting discussion. I was hoping they didn't get into this because it makes my job difficult. But I'll sum it up by saying there's a debate, really, in the philosophical world between whether animals can make moral judgments and do have free will to do that, or whether it's how they're conditioning the behavior, their adaptation skills, etc. The Jewish perspective, according to the traditional sources, is no. Animals do not have free will. They do act purely based on behavioral instinct, conditioning, etc. And that is why, in the Jewish perspective, we don't feel any need to punish an animal action such as that.
So I know you don't want to get into this too much, so I won't argue about it. What if some rabbis or rabbinical authority came to the conclusion that animals did have free will? Would that change things? And how would they be convinced or not convinced?
It would be a very interesting period of time. Let's put it like that. Essentially, we'll talk about vegetarianism a little bit later, but essentially what happens in Judaism with any sort of new rulings is it all has to be built on top of what's already been ruled. So we cannot reverse a ruling in the Torah or the Talmud. It has to be only going forward, if you know what I mean. So if new scientific evidence came out saying animals 100% have free will, and Torah said 100% not, the Torah, in the Orthodox world at least, the Torah ruling would be the final word. It would be rejected as, the science is not correct, there's a problem with the methodology. Anyway, that's a big discussion on that side. That's it. Sorry, you were going to say something? Okay, so we're just going to move on. So we've got this issue. The summary piece here is all about, based on source 1, all about understanding the Jewish perspective, the relationship between animal world and human world, is that animals being creatures that do not have free will are in existence for the support and the bettering of the primary creatures, in other words, us human beings. With the example of the crowing rooster, which manifests this whole idea, as the alarm clock wakes up so that we can enter our day. Source 2, Babylonian Talmud. That's always good fun. So, for those who were here last week, you will know a little bit about the Talmud. I'm sure you all might know a little bit. If you don't know what the Talmud is, put up your hand or come to me afterwards if you feel embarrassed. That's cool. So, yes, the Talmud in section, here are we, Baba Metzia. Oh, g'day. Just come in. Let me give you a source sheet. There you go. Grab a seat, make yourself comfortable. Have a beer, or whatever. So we're looking at the Talmud, Baba Metzia. It's one of the tractates of the Talmud. Page 85, side Aleph, side 8. The Talmud is very good at going into tangents of tangents of tangents. And this is one of those tangents of a tangent. They're talking about pain and suffering, and suddenly we move into animal welfare, animal rights. So what I want you to do, where you're sitting, in pairs or triples or small groups, I want you to look at that piece, source number 2, go through it, and try and figure out what the heck is going on. Give it a go. I'll give you guys maybe 5 or 10 minutes. Have a discussion. Look at every word. Break it down. Challenge each other. If you can read the Aramaic, 10 points for you, because I can't. Give it a go. There's the English there. Give you guys 5 or so minutes. I want you to figure out what this is all about. What's the message that we're getting out of this piece of Talmud? Because that's going to open up part 2 of the discussion. Part 1 was the intro. Part 2 is about the view of animal rights in Judaism as a general rule. So give it a go. I'll give you 5 minutes. Have fun.
The odd thing there is, maybe it's going to sweep away. It sounds like they're probably dead.
Yep. I have 2, but I don't want to.
Why you were created is
Sorry, I should have prefaced before you get into this. When it says the calf was on its way to being slaughtered, that's bad translation. It's actually running away from a lion attacking it. Sorry, I remember I pasted a different English version. Okay, there's no Shechita, there's a lion, and it's being chased by the lion. And it's about to be eaten by the lion. Hopefully that that's good. Yes, I guess no one spotted that in the Aramaic.
Let's see. I'm not even sure if they're alive or dead. I mean, what if they're lying around and waiting for and they sound like they make why is it crazy?
Okay, one more minute. "20 seconds. Okay, I think we'll end there, ladies and gentlemen. Can I have one volunteer from the audience to tell me the situation, not the moral message that you get out of this, not the deeper meaning, not the Kabbalistic, idea, if there is one, but what's a simple story? What's going on here? What's the picture? What's the scenario? The context?
The lion.
Huh? Yes?
It starts with the lion.
There's a lion, yes. I forgot to mention that. I'm sorry about that. Yes. And then what?
And then the calf runs towards the rabbi to be saved.
Yep.
And wails. I'm not my English is not at that level, but I guess the calf is crying to be saved.
Yep.
And that the rabbi shows no mercy and says that your purpose, you have been created to be part of the natural rules, and nature in this case is that you have to be eaten by the lion, and I can't interfere in this scheme.
Okay, and then what happens next?
And then that's the opposite. That's not a lion, but that's a maidservant, and she is cleaning the house, which is the purpose of life, I guess. And she, of a servant. I mean, of a servant. And she sees these weasels, and the purpose is for them to get away. And he has mercy suddenly. The weasels are not praying for his help, but he sees them. He sees that they can be saved. And he takes this reference from the Tehillim that you have to show mercy, and that for every creature that God created. So because he showed compassion, he was cured from the disease he's been punished.
Exactly. Now, just to give you a little bit of background before we look at any other opinions and deeper messages, the person who's in the story, who's referred to as Rabbi, this is Rav Yehuda Hanassi. He was Judah the Prince. He was no small rabbi. He was the redactor, the compiler of the Mishnah. He lived in the Second Temple period, and he was pretty up there. So this guy, he's obviously at a level we can't even imagine, morally, spiritually. Yet he made a mistake so bad that he suffered for many years. I forget how many years, 40 years or something. He suffered with disease and whatever, and he had no idea why, until the second half of the story, as Bema pointed out, the whole sweeping of the weasels scenario. Norman, I saw your hand up over here. What would you like to say?
Question: the first animal was obviously not going to survive for whatever the reasons were. The weasel, although may be reprehensible to the average person sweeping their house, was not going to suffer anything in terms of their mortality. So the question is, why take the extra step and say, leave him alone, rather than protect the animal?
Okay, would you like to answer your own question?
No.
Fair enough. Any other ideas? Well, let me ask this, let me throw this out here. In the first part of the story, on a purely sort of intellectual, logical perspective, is the rabbi correct? Is it okay for him to say, no, that's your nature, go away, you were going to be eaten tomorrow anyway, even if I didn't save you? Is he okay? Is that okay? Is that an acceptable behavior on a logical, intellectual only level?
No.
I just said it's a bit cold and heartless, and secondly, I would have garnered in the calf and eaten it later.
Okay, alright. So would have I. But the cold and heartless point, if we step back and we say no emotional view, let's say we're all cold and heartless people, which I very much am most of the time. If I look at the situation, I go, hey, is this logical, based on a purely intellectual understanding of what's going on? Is it okay for him to say that's your nature? What do you think?
Of course it is, in my opinion. Yeah, I think it's completely logical. That's how life works.
So why was he punished?
Because it was, I think it was not even being very caring. It wasn't having good morals.
I think you should have said sorry. And then say, this is the purpose for which you were created.
Okay, yes. Yeah.
I think Rabbi made mistake both times. First time, because it's not every time an animal asks for help. It's not everyday life. So if some extraordinary situation, and he was asked to help, he had to help. And about those, what's the name? Weasels, yeah. They probably carry some diseases or something, and if servant wanted to take them away out of the house, that probably would be the right thing to do.
But it's like if you have to show mercy in the second, even you have to show even more mercy in the first place.
That's very interesting logic. So you're saying, with the most disgusting, dirty rats, weasels, whatever they are, we should show mercy, even though we run the risk of disease. If we have to show mercy in that case, all the more so...
They are not even being killed, they are just...
Right, they're not being killed, so all the more so we should show mercy for the natural order of things. Is that what you're saying? Interesting point. Yes, Nigel?
I was going to say, it's the first one the rabbi is showing mercy to the lion.
Oh, that's an interesting twist that I didn't think about. Okay.
Why isn't the rabbi in any danger?
He's a pretty spiritual dude. He's probably floating on some cloud or something. Good question. I don't know.
This is human.
It's probably...
No, but I mean, if the calf has made it to safety behind the walls of the house, then the rabbi is doing something quite different than if, the lion standing there, the lion can eat the rabbi and the calf.
Yeah. So you're saying that the situation is he's already safe.
And it just said that the dog doesn't bark if the person is righteous, if the rabbi is righteous, and they bark because they are not righteous, which means that maybe because he made a mistake, he should have been, the lion wouldn't have barked, but at least would have roared a tiny bit.
You lost me at bark, sorry.
Say in French, we don't pick it up.
So you're saying it's something to do with level of righteousness?
Yeah, if it's because you said that he was at such a spiritual level that he wouldn't have been. It's like Daniel with the lions.
Right, so he was safe from it because of his spirituality. So that might answer your question. Because we have precedent in the Torah and the Nach. Daniel in the lion's den, he's safe because he's a spiritual person and predicted by God. However, the calf, probably not. Who was first? Yeah, then.
Okay. Well, I think from the point that Dad brought up, it depends, it could depend on what situation the rabbi was in. Like, if the rabbi was in danger, he'd kind of be like, well, go away, calf, you go get eaten and I'll go be safe. But like, he's already in a safe situation. Like, why not take the calf under his wing and save him?
So
He wasn't in any real danger himself.
So you're pretty much saying he could have easily saved the calf. It was
It
almost like arrogance that he was like, nah, not interested. Is that what you're saying?
But like, if he was in danger himself, like I would say, it would be less of a bad thing. It would be less of a bad thing for him to kind of be like, okay, go take the calf so I can be safe.
Right.
Rather than him already being in a safe situation and just being like.
Because the lion
Okay.
had to.
Sorry, Ben. I had a point.
Yes.
Point over here. Just 2 more points on this. So, Mum, and then sorry, forget your name.
Luca.
Luca. Right. Yes.
Could it be something like, because the rabbi recognises that, like humans, lions need to eat,
Yeah.
but humans also eat meat. So there could be an element of, oh, I can't feel a bit guilty here, I'm not going to save you because I recognise lions eat meat too. And the second one is choosing to show mercy to human and do the weasel because he feels a bit guilty about what he does to animals.
Okay. Yeah. So he's feeling there's some level of sensitivity that's coming through. Okay. Yeah. Hold that thought because you're right on the money. Last point. Yeah.
Maybe it's a bit crazy, but we have calf and young weasels.
Yeah.
And then we can think that they haven't procreated yet. So in the first case, he hasn't showed mercy because he hasn't, well, if he doesn't protect the calf will not have the possibility to procreate. And in the second case, they're young weasels. So maybe, and so he's showing mercy.
That is a very brilliant point, and we're going to park that because that fits into something we're going to look at a little bit later on.
Okay.
You're jumping the gun, good on you. Sure. I didn't even think about that. That's brilliant. See, that's why we're going to discuss. Tom was all about discussion and drew out little things. That's really cool. So I'm going to summarize what we just looked at. This piece is all about sensitivity. In the first case, the rabbi is like, he's going to die anyway. He's cold. He's heartless. No worries. He gets punished. Why? Because he didn't have sensitivity. He didn't have any sort of emotional response. He didn't even say sorry or cry or anything. It doesn't describe it at least. He just said, nah, it's your purpose, go away. And then later on in the weasel story, he realizes this is wrong. And maybe he goes over the top. Maybe the weasels in a normal case are okay to shoo out the house because they're full of disease. But he realized his mistake and he said, no, all creatures, all animals must be treated with some level of sensitivity. And from here, we draw the Jewish concept of the way that we understand our relationship between humans and animals in terms of the way we treat animals and the way we understand the relationship, the purpose of animals in this world. And it all comes down in the halacha, the Jewish law. Now, does anyone know the meaning of the word halacha, where the root of the word is? Anyone know? Think about Hebrew words that sound like halacha.
Go.
Exactly. To go, to walk, holech. What's the time? What time am I supposed to be finishing?
I gave you my watch, Daniel.
Oh yeah, it should be. Was it 2:45 or was it 7:15?
No. 7.
Oh, okay. I'll keep going for another 10 minutes. Yes, halacha comes from the word holech, which means to go, to walk. And it's exactly the meaning of Jewish law. Is that it's one, a pathway forward. It's an instruction of how to go, how to walk in life. But the most important thing is that to walk, you need balance. If you have only one leg, it's a bit difficult. If you don't have balance, you fall over. And that is how we understand animal rights in Judaism. Balance. What is the balance? So we're going to look at some extremes to understand where the balance sits within the spectrum. So one extreme, there was a protest, I'm sure there's been many protests like this, but in Tel Aviv quite a few years ago there was a huge protest where the Tel Aviv council had decided to eradicate stray dogs by just going around and killing them. All the animal rights groups got really upset about this, as you can imagine, and they went out and they protested in droves. Huge banners, music, the whole thing. Now, mostly hippies, but that's beside the point. Now, their slogan, their banner, what they wrote on there was "Kulanu Kilavim," meaning we are all dogs, right? Now that can have many connotations, but what they're essentially saying is, You hurt the animals are one of us. You hurt us. The dogs, we are essentially dogs. We are no different than dogs. So, the Jewish perspective would say no. We don't follow that extreme. We don't say we are equals to dogs. We don't say we are essentially no different than dogs. We might have similar traits, but we are not. The Jewish halacha does not accept that extreme, because it is indeed an extreme view. So, okay, let me give you another example, and then we'll take a break. This is a very interesting one. So, imagine this. I'll give you a story. Picture this. You're at a Shabbat Friday night meal at home, and your son or daughter comes in. Yes? Oh, hello.
Sorry.
I can recognize him. Come in.
Mine.
Take a seat. Okay, so you're at Shabbat dinner Friday night. Your son or daughter comes home with great news. You're so excited. What's the news, you ask? Your son or daughter, let's go with son, so I don't have to say or daughter all the time. Your son says, I've found the person I want to marry. The father says, wow, mazel tov. Your mother says, thank God, about time. Right? You know, and you ask, well, who is she? Who's this woman? What's her name? And the son goes, well, her name's Boo Boo. Oh, Boo Boo, that's an interesting name. Where does she live? Oh, you know, she lives in town, not far from here. Oh, okay. Well, where does she work? At the Animal Research Centre. Oh, okay. So, tell me more about it. Oh, yeah, she's from Africa. She's a chimpanzee. What? You know, the parents are like, what? Right? What's going on? You're in love with a chimpanzee? Yeah, we're in love. We're meant to be together. You know, we've already got our marriage plans all sorted out. Well, I did most of the talking, but she understands. And you know, and we're madly in love. We're soulmates. Now, here's a question for you guys. If this really happened to you, would you feel something's a bit wrong? Would you be comfortable with your son or daughter's profound love to a chimpanzee? Let's assume she's Jewish.
I don't know anyone.
But yes. What do you guys think? Does that feel right? Would you be happy to say, yeah, go ahead, we'll organise the wedding?
The man should be hairier than the wife.
Fair point. I totally appreciate that.
I have been trouble with carrying out a command, but across species, it's very, very.
Chimps don't have nerves.
But we can start.
The chimps don't. We can do what we like. Chimps do not have nerves.
So you're saying there's an issue. You wouldn't be happy with it.
A chimp can't marry a person because a chimp.
Doesn't marry?
They don't make that way. They make promiscuously. They don't have marriage. They don't have care bonds. We'll do it.
Okay.
So you have to choose a different animal.
All right. So what would you say? A penguin. Okay. Right. Yes. Penguin. All right. Okay. So let's say your son or daughter's fallen in love with a penguin. Everyone has mixed it up. Why not?
This woman has bad habits. She smokes. I mean, isn't that enough to bar them?
She smokes. What?
Well, that's why she's the Animal Research Unit.
That's another tangent.
You lost me. Wait, they're testing cigarettes on it or something. That's alright then. But anyway, so is it alright? Is she smoking or not smoking? A penguin that smokes, is it okay? No. Why not? Why do you guys have such an issue with it? He loves Boo Boo, man! He loves her!
They cannot procreate.
They cannot procreate. So what? They'll adopt. They'll adopt.
Penguin or a human?
One of each. Keep it simple. Okay. So why do they find it not weird to marry animals? How do they justify it?
They don't have a moral code like we have a moral code.
So you're saying it's immoral?
In any place.
It's not legal. Why isn't it legal? What's wrong with me marrying the dog on the street?
Well, getting married was legal 10 years ago. So that's suddenly illegal. That's legal now.
Yeah. So things change. Times do change. Yeah.
We are not even sure that the penguin is fully aware of what a marriage implies. Like, she doesn't know about love, and we go back to what's the free will of an animal?
I don't know. I mean, you know, when I give my penguin a nice, fish to eat, she loves me a lot. You know, I feel that love.
She loves fish. She doesn't love you.
Well, you know, you've got to give her a So obviously we all have an issue with this, I think. At the surface we're going, oh yeah, there's something that doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel quite right. So it goes back to what we were saying before. There's definitely something intrinsically different between animals and us. And that's the Jewish idea. That there is this intrinsic difference. But in saying that, from the idea that we learned in the Talmud, we must have compassion. We must have sensitivity towards animals. Even if they are so intrinsically different that we wouldn't want to marry them. Now, we have two choices. Either I can take a break, or if you guys really want to keep going.
I think it's a bit important to take a break, and for people who arrive late to place
Fair enough, yep.
if they wish, and for people who've already ordered to order dessert.
Yep.
And then we'll start up again at 7:45.
Sounds good to me.
Okay.
Thanks guys for listening. Come back in part 2. Hello again. How's everybody going? Good. Enjoying your desserts? Olives? Oh, they're coming out? Oh, good. Well, so you're going to be too focused on dessert. That's cool. Now, where were we? So, let's summarise quickly the first half, just to give you guys a recap of what we discussed, and for the people who came a bit late as well, give you a lowdown. So, we started off by looking at the prayer that we say in the morning, that talks about thanking God for creating the rooster, that distinguishes between day and night. And of course, this led on to the whole discussion around what this represents. And Rav Kook, of course, said this is the manifestation of the connection between the human world and the animal world. We talked about the Jewish idea of primary and secondary creatures. Our primary creature is something with free will that has the ability to realize its own potential, and the secondary creatures are the support system, if you will, for the primary creatures. Primary creatures being us human beings. Then we talked about halachic understanding of where, the Jewish law understanding of how we look at animal rights and how we the treatment of animals. We looked at the story from the Talmud of the calf and the lion and the weasels, and that all came to the understanding that we have to have sensitivity. There has to be sensitivity. Yes, animals are there as secondary creatures supporting the primary creatures, but we must have sensitivity as we interact with them. So, and then we talked about marrying Boo Boo the chimpanzee. Interesting discussion. Now, where are we? Right. Source number 3. Source number 3. I think this source once again encapsulates this idea of sensitivity towards animals, which is quite nice. There is a custom, actually I'll read you from the source directly. The Shulchan Aruch is the codified work of Jewish law, written by Rav Yosef Karo, who lived in Sfat. And I'll give you the year he lived there. In 1563 he published the Shulchan Aruch. What the Shulchan Aruch's purpose is to take all the complex Jewish laws and display them in a very simplified manner. Law number 1, law number 2, exception number 1, exception number 2. That's pretty much how it works. Now, at the same time, in Poland, was another rabbi known as the Ramah, and he was Ashkenaz, as opposed to Rav Cairo in Sfat, who was Sephardi, and they differed on a couple of things. So, the final outcome of the Shulchan Aruch is the Sephardi understanding of Jewish law, with a gloss of the Ashkenaz where it differs. Because we're Jews, we like to make things complicated, even if we're trying to simplify it. Right? So that's the Shulchan Aruch. Now, Shulchan Aruch has many sections. The first section talks about sort of day-to-day stuff. And that's known as Ora Torah. So on page 223, part 6, I think, it says, "It is customary to say to someone who has bought new clothing, 'May you wear it out and renew it.' And there are those who wrote that one should not say this for shoes or clothing made of leather. For if he does wear it out, another animal will have to be killed to make a new garment. as it states, His mercy is upon all creatures. Now, although this reasoning is not conclusive, many people do not say this. So that encapsulates that idea again. We say, you bought a brand new shirt or hat or pants or skirt. Wear it out, get a new one. We're excited, we want you to use it. We want you to use it and wear it out, yes?
And more to the point, we want you to live long enough.
Exactly, yeah, you want to live to 120 years and wear it out, and on your 120th birthday buy a new one and live another 120 years. Please God. Right? That's a nice idea, and even today I've heard this in Israel when I've been there, and you probably hear it in big Jewish communities, especially in the States, I'd imagine. The phrase Tet Chadesh, which actually comes from Tivolev and Tet Chadesh, which is exactly this phrase that we're talking about. Wear it out so long that you'll get a new one. Now, the ruling in the Shulchan Aruch, according to the Ashkenaz gloss, the Rema, is we don't say it for leather. We don't say it for leather. Why not? Because if we say it for leather, we're effectively saying, wear it out, kill another animal, and make it a new piece of clothing. And we don't like that. We don't want to rejoice in the action of killing animals. But the message that we learn here is that, yes, it is acceptable to use the leather. There's no prohibition written here, you may not use leather. The prohibition is not to rejoice in the killing of the animal to provide the leather. So this is the balance. This is the halacha. This is the walking, right? On the one hand, on the one side, we can use the animal for our purposes. But on the other hand, we must remember to be sensitive and not to encourage over-the-top killing of animals just so we can have brand new leather suits. Now actually, in the shiur that this is based on, the rabbi said something very interesting about a clothes shop in Beverly Hills, I believe it was, where you can buy top-of-the-line, like, fur seal, fur coats and all this fancy stuff made out of all sorts of strange animals. But on the inside, if it's above a certain price, I think it's above $1,000 or whatever, on the inside there's a tag that describes in detail how the animal was killed. So it's exactly a manifestation of this idea, balance. Yes, we can use the fur coat, but at least appreciate that you've killed an animal for this. Now, most rabbis will say you don't go and buy a $1,000 fur coat because that's not in balance. In fact, that's to the extreme. Use what you need. Get the nice leather, for your work, clothes, whatever you need, fine, but don't go overboard. So that's source 3. Now, any questions, comments on that? Are we? Oh. Another interesting point, we're talking about the balance, right? The extremes. Another extreme, hunting. What do you think? Is hunting for sport, what do you think? Where does that sit on the spectrum?
It should not be allowed, but I don't know if it is.
Okay, why should it not be allowed?
Hunting for sport, there's no higher elevation of the killing of the being, so then I don't think it should be allowed according to that reasoning.
Okay.
Then you're rejoicing in the dead.
Rejoicing in the dead, yeah. So you'd say not applicable.
But the counter to that is, of course, that you make use of the meat, you make use of what, and you stop when you have enough. And there are a great number of hunters in New Zealand who will say, as soon as they have a game animal and enough that they can't carry back, they stop the hunting, and it's not a matter of trophy after trophy.
So what would you think is the Jewish perspective? Hunting for purpose? Acceptable or not acceptable?
Acceptable.
Acceptable. What do you think over here?
Not acceptable.
Hunting for purpose. Acceptable?
No, because
It is acceptable.
For food.
Yeah.
For food, for clothing, what do you... Let's say you... let's say...
The sport of purpose.
what about...
Oh, that's a good question. The sport of purpose.
Sport isn't fun.
If you live for sport, you're a sportsman. Let's say you make money off sport, and it's your only source of income.
I
Of hunting for sport.
doubt the Gemara says that it is.
A hunting guide.
You're a hunting guide? Okay, what do you think? You're a hunting guide, your only source of income that feeds your kids at night, dinner on the table, is the money you get from taking people on hunt. Acceptable or not acceptable?
Not acceptable.
It's still not acceptable.
It's on the same
So go,
level,
no,
is
yes.
it acceptable for you to farm pigs?
No prohibition.
Yeah, why? You're not going to eat the pig,
Yeah.
you're not going to live with the pig, why shouldn't you not farm it?
But farming is not
My
fun.
parents, it's a different
Some of them do.
So you would say, because it has that similarity, you'd say it is acceptable if you were earning some sort of income off it.
If that's your job,
There's
Yeah.
no,
why should it not be acceptable?
Okay, all right, yes, okay.
like for sport, you're not sanctifying the name of God. Well, if you're, killing to eat, you are.
Well, let's say you kill for sport and you sell the meat, and the money that you make off the meat goes to help orphans who don't have any food.
Oh, but that's a different.
I'm just throwing it out there.
Yeah,
That's a different concept of rules.
Yes?
You go out sports fishing,
Okay.
it's the same principle. You can eat what you catch there,
Yes, or it's
There's no
cash.
Shechita.
and you can sell the rest. There's no reason why, there's no prohibition against that.
Yeah, yeah.
Carrying it a step further.
Is it
It's
right?
the same, why is it a special carry? It's the same.
No, because there's no Shechita for fish.
But we're talking about principle, not practicality. In the
Yeah.
principle, is it okay to
Yes.
go out and, let's say, fish and throw them in a bucket and let them die and walk on? Because you enjoy the fish.
Oh, no.
You're saying, you're saying to eat the fish.
You eat the fish, you catch 100 fish,
Yeah.
you eat 2, you sell the rest.
Okay, so you'd say that's okay,
Yeah.
I'd agree with that.
and therefore you'd say that.
Carrying that over would
Yeah. Go on.
as long as you're not eating what it is that you kill outside of Shechita.
Interesting.
Uh,
So you'd say, okay, from a
Well, it's
strictly orthodox perspective, if we kill something using a method that's not Shechita,
Right.
that's fine as long as we sell it or it's for a
Or
purpose.
if it's an animal that is prohibited anyway.
Which
A
you're not
wild
going to
boar.
touch.
like a
Right.
wild boar,
Yeah, yeah. So that would be acceptable if you're going to sell the boar.
Yes.
Okay.
Can we
Yes.
anticipate number 4? Because that raises
It's not a welfare
another
animal, you might
issue
miss it.
about fish.
Might half kill it.
Okay, hold up on number 4.
Yeah.
We'll get there.
What's the difference
Yep.
between catching fish and shooting game?
You tell me.
They go the same. Shooting a animal.
Not necessarily.
So,
You're gonna sell it or eat it.
It's not like Torah, is it?
so let me ask you a question
Without
about.
wounding it.
Hold on, one second. Let me ask you a question about hunters in the Torah. Does anyone know who the hunters were in the Torah?
Esau.
Yeah, and? There were two that I can think of. No, Ishmael, as far as I know, wasn't.
Yeah, Ishmael was actually.
Was it?
Both, yeah.
Abel.
But did he hunt? Oh, maybe.
Abel
Cain.
Cain and Abel.
Cain was an agriculturalist, wasn't he? Abel was a hunter.
Abel was.
Or it was the other way around.
Okay.
Which one of the?
No.
No.
Oh, is he
The mark of Cain.
Cain is a
Right, is a
murderer.
symbol. So he murdered his brother, he
Yeah.
was a farmer.
Abel,
No,
Abel.
So Abel was the hunter.
No. Oh, yeah, Abel was the hunter, that's right. And his offerings were acceptable to the Lord, and Cain was
He was a
jealous.
shepherd.
Yes.
I'd have to get my Torah out. I'm so confused. But okay, we had Asaph. I know Asaph, but there was another one as well.
Ishmael.
Ishmael, but there was another one.
But there was a whole tribe that survived on living in the wild.
What's the name of that giant?
Or Goliath.
No.
No.
Well, I was gonna bring the examples of Asaph and Nimrod. Nimrod.
Nimrod, yes.
He was a hunter.
Yeah, but he wasn't one of us.
No, true. True.
Torah.
But, let's take Asa for example. He was, part of our line, by the way. But he was a bad dude,
Was he a pre-Jew though? Because I mean, there were people, they weren't yet Jewish.
True. Well,
He was.
where did Judaism start?
He was a Malachite.
Oh,
He
he
was the Noah.
Asa, yeah.
Might be Hebrew.
Remember what they said.
Okay, do it. All right, let's move on. This is too complicated. Can't handle this one. But anyway, I'll give you an example. For the Americans out there, if you can answer this question, you get bonus points. Who promoted their presidency with the campaign Kindler and Gentler America? Kindler and Gentler America. Kinder and Gentler America. Clearly wasn't me.
The
Americans? Anyone?
Party.
He's pretty famous.
Teddy Roosevelt. In this context, he was...
Abraham Lincoln.
No. It was George Bush Sr. George Bush Sr.
George Bush Sr. Has to be George Bush Sr.
Now picture this. There's a famous clip, an interview with him. He's standing on his ranch with a shotgun over one shoulder, a knife, on his little belt, with his buddies, and he's holding the gun like this, and he's saying, "I'm promoting a kinder and gentler America." Right?
You mean Junior?
Huh?
That's Junior.
I can't do the senior accent. I try, but yeah. So we see straight away we see a contradiction. On the one hand, he has no problem blowing the brains out of some animals for fun, but on the other hand, he's trying to promote this concept of being good, kind, gentle people.
Can you go back to the hunting thing? If you sell it and someone else eats it, then is it okay?
Okay, so
Yes.
so let me answer with a story. Let me answer this whole discussion with a story. So there's a story about, this is set in Prague. Not sure the date actually, but a Jewish businessman comes to the rabbi of the town and asks him, "Is it okay for me to take my non-Jewish business partners out to my estate and take them hunting?" Now, that was a common thing that they did in this time, to go hunting for fun. It was a way of building connections and networking. Now, the rabbi said it is forbidden. It is forbidden. The concept is that you cannot rejoice, right? You cannot rejoice. We learned this from the leather, not saying Kadesh for leather. We cannot rejoice in the destruction of an animal, the killing of an animal. So, the ruling with hunting is, if it has a purpose, you make a livelihood off it, you sell the meat, it brings money to your family, it's your job, acceptable. But do not rejoice in it. Do not smile every time you kill an animal, right? And on the other hand, if it's just for fun, for sport, because you can, 100% forbidden. And that's the balance. If we need it, we can use it.
So
but if we don't need it,
Shechita, so I could go out and kill as many animals I like because I need it for my food.
Right.
And therefore I don't have to worry about Shechita because
you do.
I'm not rejoicing.
The rule of Shechita, which I'll discuss in a second, is a separate issue. For the consumption of meat by a Jew, it has to be killed. It has to be a kosher animal and it has to be Shechita.
So you can only do it for the benefit of a goy.
No, but you can go chef your own animal and eat it.
Hunting-wise, you can only do it.
Well, let's say you hunt. Let's say you are very good with a knife and you throw it like this and it does the proper Shechita. That would be acceptable. There's only one person in the whole Talmud who could do that. I forget who it was. Or two people maybe.
J.D. Crockett.
Or who's that Japanese swordsman?
Bruce Lee.
He probably does too. Essentially no. You cannot hunt in the traditional way with a gun or etc. because you wouldn't be able to eat the food. But you could hunt with a weapon like a gun and sell it as long as the money is for your livelihood or for your family, etc. So that's the balance. That's the balance. Where are we? Okay, now we're going to talk about the obligation of people, human beings, Jews, to prevent animals from suffering. So we're going to look at a couple of sources. Seeing as we're so eager on this table to move to source number 4, we're going to look at source number 4. So source number 4 is from Exodus 23:5, and it says, "If thou see that donkey of him, and this is such old English, hateth thee lying under its burden, thou shalt forbear to pass by him, thou shalt surely release it with him." Does anyone want to translate that into modern English?
Yes. If you see... Go ahead.
Yep. Go.
Well, one American.
If you see a person you don't like and their car is stuck by the side of the road, you can't just leave him there. You have to help him push his car off the road.
Almost right, but I think it has to be an animal's welfare.
So exactly, you're making
Japanese ass struggling under,
His
well, that's
burden.
what it is, donkey.
His burden.
Struggling
It's
under
actually
its
falling.
load and it's actually falling
Yeah.
down and can't get up. You have to help the
But that's
donkey
just a
because
little bit too literal, then I think Michelle's a little bit too far.
You have to have
Essentially, you're all right, right?
You have to have
If you see an ass, I know we're very immature, I'm going to laugh every time I say that. If you see a donkey, let's make it more general. You see an animal, and it's an animal struggling under its load. You know, it's a donkey. Let's make it a camel to make it more interesting. A horse. It's a horse, and it's got a person on the back that's riding the horse, and behind him is like 16 boxes that weigh way too much for the horse. Even if you hate the person who's riding it, he's your arch enemy. Your obligation is to prevent the suffering of that horse, of that animal. That is what you call Doraita, written in the Torah. And in the second one, in Deuteronomy 22:4, it's a very similar idea. Thou shalt not see thy brother's ass or his ox fallen down by the way, and hide thyself from them. Thou shalt surely help him to lift them up again. Well, I should look for a better English translation. But yeah, same idea. This time with your brother, your friend. So it's your friend or your enemy. Your first obligation is the suffering,
the
release the
animal
suffering
ain't
of
done
them.
nothing to you, even if the enemy.
Yes, exactly, that's right. Okay, so that's an idea.
Now comes the question I had
Yes.
on this one.
Uh-oh.
Because it raises, it extends, well, no, we got to keep going, it's still important. It extends the notion of not killing the animal to causing pain or suffering to the animal, or so far it's releasing them from it. But I want to add it, extend it to the notion of causing pain to an animal. A lot of fishermen now do what they call tag and release. They catch the animal, they play the trout, and they do all their trouty fishermen, Nimrodi things. Then they finally exhaust this poor trout, bring it in, take it off the hook, and release it. And they think they're being really good. I still, take a photo before it
So
dies.
what would be the halachic
That's what I'm asking. Because I'm not comfortable with it.
Okay, well, what would you guys say? From what we've learned so far, is it acceptable to do, what do you call it,
Tag and release.
Tag and release? Or do you think the Jewish sources would be leaning towards forbidden?
Put it back straight away.
Forbidden?
It's no more acceptable than having a co-worker that you tease.
True.
Except the co-worker is human and is aware of the teasing.
Yes.
The animal is just
take further advanced requirements.
Yeah, it
No,
should not be acceptable.
the fish can't.
Okay, let's get a vote. Who thinks it's acceptable? Tag and release? Fun. Achievement.
what if you
Sport.
take-
You can
what
take a
if-
photo and go, hey, look at this massive trout that I
What if you
caught.
tag it for scientific purposes?
Okay.
You're
So
looking for migration patterns in fish.
So answer your own question? What do you
Well,
think
that would be-
is
that's-
Do they
what do you think is acceptable? Yes? Yeah.
A lot of time people do tagging to kind of look after a endangered species.
So acceptable or not acceptable?
Very acceptable.
Very acceptable. Okay. Anyone
That's
disagree?
different. I'm talking about the straight sport.
Right. So you'd say straight sport is
Different
not
question.
acceptable. For a purpose, is acceptable.
And you wouldn't catch, if you're tagging a fish.
I'm not giving a psak halakha here. I'm not giving a ruling. I'm just throwing it out there. Yes.
If you're tagging a fish for scientific purposes, you went through that rigmarole of,
That's right.
the long struggle with the hook in its mouth.
Net it, you bring it
Catch it on
up,
a net
do
or
it,
something.
and out.
So now we've entered into a very interesting grey zone because on the one hand, okay, there's a benefit, there is a purpose to catching the fish, but how beneficial is that really to humans? Number two, on the other
Well,
hand,
you can accept the beneficial question is the pain inflicted in the
well, the
process.
question is how much pain versus how much benefit. Where do you draw the
And
line?
do you rejoice in it and go, hey, look at this?
Mm.
Or you just get on with the job?
So as you can see, it's not as simple as you might think, and this is why we have rabbis to ask these questions.
For ethics.
It's like the Torah.
Yeah, well, that's it.
Actually, I'm just thinking about what Hal said, that is a different dimension to what you get, isn't it, in the Jewish ethics, because it's not saying this is good for people, it's saying this is good for the species. Does that even feature?
Which is good.
Well, the question is, does something that's good for a species benefit the humans?
In the long term, obviously.
What about animals that live in reserves that have nothing to do with humans, but that environment under danger.
Yeah.
So you might be doing
So
things to help them survive.
So do you think we're obligated to help them survive if that's the purpose?
Definitely.
Park that, because we'll get to that point, hopefully. That's a very good point, though. Hold that thought. We're going to continue through the sources. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to quick fire a few sources that show different Jewish concepts from the Torah that apply to animal rights. So the next one was, thou shalt not muzzle the ox when he treadeth out the corn. Essentially meaning, don't deprive your animal from food. You know, it's working hard for you. Balance. One hand, it's working for you. There's a purpose. It's okay. On the other hand, let the poor animal eat. Do not restrict its ability to eat. And there's an interesting one. The next one, Deuteronomy 22:10. Thou shalt not plough with an ox and an ass together. Question: why? Who cares?
Strength.
Exactly.
Size,
Strength. It's going to make one of the animals a bit uncomfortable when one of them is pushing harder than the other. Forbidden. Now, as you can see, all these different ideas, they're touching on different practical elements of animal rights and compassion towards animals. But the message is clear, that throughout the Torah, we see a clear message of compassion and sensitivity towards animals, on the one hand, and on the other hand, the ability to use animals for our purposes. Now, the next source, source 5, touches on a slightly different topic that was raised by my mum, actually, just before. But it also fits into this whole spectrum of animal rights. So, does someone want to read out source number 5, the first one? Deuteronomy 22:6-7. Do you want to read? I'm bored of reading. Yep.
If a bird's nest chance to be before thee in the way, in any tree or on the ground, young ones or eggs, and a dam sitting upon the young, or upon the eggs, thou shalt not take the dam with the young. The dam read not the bird. Thou shalt in any wise let the dam go. The young thou mayest take unto thyself, that it may be well with thee, thou mayest prolong thy days.
Okay, someone want to read the next one? Thank you, Donnie. Leviticus 22:28.
Okay? And whether it be cow or ewe, you shall not kill it and its young both in one day.
Question. What do these two sources have in common? Well, first of all, let's understand what's going on before we go down that track. What's happening in the first source? What's the prohibition in the first source? Okay, but more specifically in the source, what's going on?
You don't want to upset the mother because you're taking the child.
Right, so what's the practical, what do?
You shoo the mother away.
Exactly.
And then you take the eggs.
Bingo. Thank you. We got there eventually.
Yeah,
and the next...
Is it really her feelings or the fact that she can go away and create some more eggs in the future?
Okay, so let's answer that. The commonality between those two sources is what? Say it again.
Saving the mother.
Continuation of the species.
Okay, so that would be fine if you had one chicken and one egg left. But we know today there are millions of chickens and millions of eggs. What's wrong with killing the chicken and the egg?
But if you save one man's life, it's as though you saved the whole world. It's establishing the principle.
Man, chicken.
Exactly. No, that's exactly right. These prohibitions, what are they? What's going on here? By taking the egg and the chicken at the same time, that's tantamount to the destruction of the species. And the same with killing a sheep and its baby at the same time. You might not be literally killing the whole species, but it's symbolic of destruction of a species. Now, why are we prohibited from doing this? As a reminder for balance. One, we can use the animal. On the other hand, respect the fact that it's here, it's a living creature, and we must be sensitive to that.
I don't look at that from the calf and the cow, though. I mean, if you kill it on the next day, what's the difference?
Okay, well, it wouldn't make a difference anyway, right? The point is it's a symbol. By being actively reminded of the prohibition to kill the elder and his son on the same day.
It's not normal to do it.
Sorry?
It's not normal to do it, and you shouldn't do it.
Well, it's a sign. It's reminding you, hey, this is not acceptable. Destruction of a species is not acceptable, and we symbolize this by prohibiting the act of killing.
But it's okay to kill it the next day.
Yes.
Well, okay. But on that day, but on that day where you kill the elder animal, presumably a ewe that's beyond its reproductive life,
Yeah.
Or it's tailing off, then then the next generation is old enough to be adult and you leave them alone. So it's one or the other. Well, okay, that's another symbolic.
Yeah, Judaism is built on symbols. I mean, we do many things that are symbolic.
I just wonder if there can be another meeting.
There might be, but I'll have to ask Rabbi Google about it. Because I don't actually know.
If you kill one in front of the other, it suffers more because it recognizes that it's therefore its mother is being killed.
So that's a very valid point.
I know.
There you go. That could be a very valid reason, and you know, you have every right to interpret that, and that is a point. It fits in exactly. It's about compassion. You'll cause more. Sorry, I'll get to you in a second. You cause more pain to one of the animals by seeing its loved one being killed in front of it. It's a very good point. Yes?
This is it. I heard that another interpretation of it was actually for the nest and the dam, that another interpretation is that then the fact that the dam will cry for its babies, it's a reminder for God that we are crying for the Mashiach.
Mm.
And that it's actually a commandment. You have to do it anyway.
Yeah.
Which is a really weird thing, but that's what we studied it in France. That it's not like if you're hungry and you're gonna take some eggs, leave the mother. It's actually no. When you come upon a bird in its nest, you have to take the eggs so that God will hear the cry of the bird and remember to bring Mashiach.
There you go. So to everything in the Torah, there's at least 16 different interpretations. That sounds like a bad one thing, but it could be. But it's a nice idea. So finally, I just want to look at source number 6. I won't read it, but it's the prohibition of eating a kid in its mother's milk. We're all familiar with this one. Meat and milk. Right?
It's not actually. What it says is if an animal dies, you can give it to the stranger or sell it, but don't eat it yourself. Now that's quite an interesting moral question.
Ooh, I should have removed that part. That's a good question. I'm not qualified to answer that, but we can open it up. So let's read it. Let's read it. It says, "Ye that shall not, oh my God, shall not eat of anything that died itself. You may give it to the stranger within your gates, and he may eat it, or you may sell it to a foreigner. For you are holy people unto the Lord your God. You shall not eat. You should not cook a kid in its mother's milk."
Presumably, these are not regulations that would apply to them, so they would eat that sort of carrion anyhow. I think that's clear and is not the issue.
So you're saying it's not a problem to give it away because the symbol that we're drawing from this is not applicable to them anyway.
Yeah, but that's not the issue.
Okay.
I mean, that's just obvious.
Right.
The issue is again what Alima said last week about fences.
Right.
So, and presumably in this context, that last sentence becomes another fence.
Sorry, can you explain?
That seething a kid in its mother's milk.
Yeah.
We're going slightly beyond the not killing the two at the same day.
Yeah.
But this is another fence to make it more difficult.
Yeah, yeah. It all ties into the same symbolism, right? The previous prohibitions are if you're a farmer. You're out on a farm and you need to collect eggs or you need to kill an animal. That's part of your farming lifestyle. Every time you look at all the laws and you're reminded of the symbol of that you're forbidden to destroy a whole species, that you have to have the balance. But most people who don't work on farms won't remember this concept. So Judaism has brought it into the home. Cooking. You eat 3 times a day usually. Every time you eat a meat meal, you have to be conscious about milk and and cheese and meat, and it gets all confusing. You have 36 sets of dishes because you've got to have Pesach and you've got to... Right, it's very complicated. But you become conscious of the same symbol. Yeah, you've got to have your tray for your...
That's for the guests who come in.
So
they're paper, aren't they?
So that's exactly it. For the average person, when they come to eat, they're once again reminded that yes, somebody killed this animal, and that's not ideal. We have compassion towards the animal. So we separate the milk to meat to remind us of that idea, that we can eat the meat, fine, but we have to remember that an animal died, and we have to be compassionate about that. Now, let's move on and look at Shechita very quickly.
Yeah, so why, Al has a good question.
Oh, sorry, yes? Shoot.
Oh, why can't you have the milk first and then eat the meat?
Very good question. It's very complicated. There are different opinions, and I'm trying to dodge the question as best I can. But no, it comes down to, it really comes down to how meat and milk are processed in the body, and it's a big discussion, but it's complicated.
Which one is, I know there are two different sets of separation periods.
Yeah.
It's, if you go from milk to meat, it's be so many hours. If you go from meat first to milk, it's a different period.
It also depends if you're eating hard cheese or milk.
They can get stuck in your teeth.
Yeah, and it also depends if it's Fadi or Ashkenaz.
Tradition as well.
It's very complicated. It's 3 hours, 6 hours, 6 and into the 7, 1 hour if you're Dutch. You know, there's all these different traditions. I'm not even kidding. If you want to be lenient, be Dutch, because you only have to eat 1 hour from meat to
Somebody
milk.
said as soon as I rinsed the cheese out of my teeth, I can eat meat, and it was like a rabbi.
Cheese, if it's a hard cheese, no, generally. But if it's like cream cheese, you can drink a glass of water, you can eat them straight away. That's the general consensus, depending on which minhag you follow, but in New Zealand, that's generally what we do. Depends. Follow your minhag. I don't want to be a rabbi. Anyway, getting off topic. Let's draw it back. We're going to look at Shechita, okay? Because Shechita is quite pertinent. You know, it's an issue that has affected us all in New Zealand. Now, I'm no expert at Shechita. It's a very complex set of laws, both from a Jewish perspective and from a veterinary perspective. But let's look at a couple of elements of Shechita and see how that fits into this whole theme of balance. So, where are we? So, a couple of things. The process of Shechita is quite complicated and it's very strict. So first of all, the shochet, the person who is slaughtering the animal, has to be trained, and the training can vary in length depending on the type of animal that he's training to kill or the authority that he's trained under. But generally it's going to be at least a few months of training, which includes all the legal training, understanding all the little laws, understanding how the throat of the animal is structured, and also understanding how to use the knife and the things to look out for in the whole process. So the knife itself is quite interesting. It is a very sharp blade, and it has to be nick-free. It can't have any scratches or nicks along the blade. It has to be perfectly sharp. The reason is that if you cut, it's a much more effective method of slicing, of separating the neck of the animal. It's much more effective because the blade penetrates right through the particles. That sounds really gross, I know. As opposed to ripping, if you take a serrated blade, you rip. And when you rip, it affects the nervous system of the animal directly, and it takes a lot longer to cut through. So straight away there, we see an attitude of let's minimize pain. Let's minimize pain to the animal by making sure the blade has no nicks and won't rip. And in fact, what a shochet will do before he does the procedure, generally they kill with 2 shochets at once, and they trade knives, and then they test each other's knives for nicks, and they do that by placing it along their skin and along their nails. Why the skin and the nails? It's to simulate the flesh of the animal and the cartilage of the animal. And they test if they can feel anything, they're not allowed to use the blade. It has to be resharpened. So it's very, very careful and stringent procedure before they even start to ensure minimal pain, because the whole focus is minimizing the pain to the animal. They also use a procedure, not with all animals, but there are different opinions of this, but generally they'll try and flip the animal onto its back. And what this does is it actually puts the animal into a state of shock, which minimizes, once again, the level of pain that the animal feels. And vets actually use this today. If you ever bring your dog or cat to a vet and they need something done, like, I don't know, something cut or whatever, without anesthetic, they generally will flip the animal over on its back for that purpose. So this is, a known medical science that it works.
But there have been criticisms of this holding pen as a form of animal cruelty in itself.
Definitely. There's a lot, with the whole Shechita thing that happened here, there's been a lot of stuff that's come out. There are different methods that use special holding pens or different ways of holding up the animal, especially with cows. It's a big, big debate, and I'm not going to get into it. But the essence of it, the motivation, what's the word I'm looking for? The underlying rationale underneath is minimizing the animal's pain. We do everything we can. Yes, on the one hand, we can kill the animal because we need it to eat. It's acceptable. But on the other hand, we're sensitive to this. Animal is going to die. We don't want to hurt it any more than we have to. Which is, by the way, why stunning is also prohibited, according to most authorities. Because stunning, either by electrocution or a captive bolt, which is a bolt to the brain. Please tell me if this is too descriptive for any of you. This is prohibited because it's additional pain caused to the animal before you even kill it.
And it renders the animal not in perfect health.
That's another issue as well. The animal has to be perfect health.
I understand you've already heard how ineffective it can be in practice.
Yes, stunning has many issues. especially with bolt stunning, it can miss. Electrocution, the animal can come back out of consciousness. There's a lot of debate. But once again, I'm not talking about the technicality here, I'm talking about why. The underlying reason that we do it in this way. We want to minimize the pain. Because we're conscious the animal.
The vets say that doesn't minimize pain. That's one of the rationales for the prohibition.
So there are also top professors around the world, if you want to get into this. One by the name of Temple Grandin, for example, who's one of the top leading authorities on animal slaughter. And I think it's a she. She actually published an article that was against Shechita, then did some more research, changed her mind, republished an article in favour of Shechita over most other methods.
Up in Massey, when I was there in the 70s, that was a discussion that I remember having. And again, the notion of it is, I think, causes I think it's barometric shock, and I don't remember the exact term. The idea of it is that when you do the Shechita properly, it has a very, very immediate and severe loss of blood pressure, and that blood pressure itself is enough to make the animal, to kill the animal from just the shock of that.
Not if it's a cow. Only if it's a sheep, yes.
If the sheep,
not cattle. And according to the studies that were recently done by Meller and Massey, the cattle remain sensitive to it for 30 seconds. If you stun them, they're only it cuts it down to 3. So that's the vet. That's the New Zealand vet.
It's an ongoing debate. Let's put it like that. But once again, it's about the message we're trying to push here. The message is reducing pain. And it's a good question. I actually heard a rabbi respond to a question of if all of science agreed that they found a method that is more, that causes less pain to an animal than Shechita, would you implement this new method? The answer was maybe. Because on the one hand, yes, the element, the primary motivation is reducing the pain. But on the other hand, the way Judaism works is that we have a tradition that's passed down. But according to who you believe, either from God or from man, whatever, that it's a tradition that holds true.
It's more than a tradition.
So it's a very difficult one to argue.
It's written in the Torah, so you would circumvent the rule that God has given us. So
well, actually, Shechita is not written in the Torah. It's in the Torah. It says, "You shall slaughter the animals as I shall command you," and that's all. And the Talmud, there is a whole discussion of what that means, but they're based on an oral tradition. But that tradition, I guess, could have the power to change.
But where's the oral tradition come from? From God.
Well, from God too. But that's another whole kettle of fish. But the point is, it is on the mind of many modern rabbis that we could look at changing it if it could fit into Torah logic, if there could be a strong support base from the rabbis around the world to do it. So the motivation is there, because the key thing is reducing the pain of the animal.
Will they accept post-stunning in Australia?
Yeah.
They do. That's correct.
First
Yeah.
they understand what the cattle.
Post-stunning.
Yeah.
In other words, you cut the throat, then you stun the animal.
That's also a big controversy, so I won't go into that
But they
either.
do that in
But they do that in Melbourne. It's all Australia.
Well, that's kosher meat that we buy from
Yeah,
Australia. It's been done that way.
Yeah, yeah. So let's look at source number 7. Now, this is from Nachmanides. This is just re-emphasizing this point. Nachmanides was one of the great commentators, also known as the Ramban. He wrote his commentary on Devarim, on Deuteronomy. He wrote, the regulation of Shechita, ritual slaughter, in all its details, is in order to reduce the pain that the animal registers. And it acts as a reminder that we are not dealing with things outside the law. They are not automatons devoid of life, but they are living beings. So this Nachmanides, one of the greatest commentators ever, he's just put it on the table. He said, the primary reason is reducing the pain. They're not robots. They're not human, but they're not robots. They do feel pain, and we need to be aware of that and remind ourselves of it. So that's that. Oh, where are we? How are we doing for time? Half an hour. No pressure. Okay. No, we're good. Okay, let's skip that next source actually, because I don't even know what I was going to say about that. Okay, vegetarianism. This is a good one. Question: Adam, as in Adam and Eve, Book of Genesis, right in the Torah, was he allowed to eat meat? No? Yes? No? What do you think?
Not in Eden.
Not in Eden. Okay, in Garden of Eden, was he allowed to eat meat? No.
You have dominion over all the animals.
Correct, he had the dominion, but
Was
he
it
allowed to eat?
actually prohibited either? I think it's just an open question.
Meat was only after Noah. Yeah.
So, okay, so exactly, that would be my next question. So, yes, I'm not
It
sure
wasn't
about...
prohibited for me, he just didn't.
Yes, it's a good point. That is a good point. But even without the prohibition, Adam did not eat meat.
Yeah.
He did not eat meat in the Garden of Eden. He interacted with the animals in a different way than what we do today. And it wasn't until the time of Noah, that we were allowed to eat meat, and that's when all the laws, followed through with the Shechita.
So back to Cain and Abel.
Yeah.
Why was he hunting?
That's a good question.
I don't think
Does anyone have a good answer for that question?
I don't think it was a matter of not eating meat. It was the Noahide creed started to add in some tightening, some codification of the implications of men's actions,
right,
which hadn't arisen presumably before that, or just weren't codified.
Right. No, it's exactly right. What we see in the Torah is by the time we get to the story of Noah, we see humans are craving meat. It's not just that they're allowed to eat it. Human beings are wanting to eat meat. So what we learn from this is that there is an ideal and a practical outcome. The ideal in Judaism is that we don't eat meat. In fact, that we not only treat animals with sensitivity and respect, but that we don't even kill them for the sake of our own consumption. That's the ideal, if you look at the story of Adam and how he interacted with the animals. But then over time, we get the story of Noah, and of course, he ate meat, and his family ate meat, and was allowed to, and there are rules put around how to eat meat, and what the preparation of meat, etc. So the symbolism here is ideal vegetarianism. Reality, we like meat, there are rules, but we must remember the balance. Yes, there was a question there? No? Stringent.
Quick question.
Yep.
Is it the fact that Noah was instrumental in saving these animals have a bearing on the fact that they now...
Good question.
He is now a human control on those animals?
I don't know. That is a good point. It may be. It may be. It may be, yeah, it may be the symbolism is because he went out of his way to preserve the natural world, the animal world, he was then allowed to act on his craving, but within the bounds.
With the deliberation and symbolism.
Exactly. So, Where's my next point? Feeling all over the place. Okay. Okay. So, source number 9. Source number 9, we'll get a bit of a discussion going for this one. Why not? So, in your small groups again, I want you to read source number 9. This is from the Talmud in Pesachim 41, side B. Read it, have a think what you think it means, and if you figure it out pretty quickly, move on to source 10. Move on to source 10 and see how that plays as well. So source 9 and source 10, they work together. Read them both. Figure out what the meaning is here. See what you come up with. I'll give you 5 minutes. By the way, Am Haaretz literally means the nation of the land. People of the land.
Which in Maori would be the Takasana, which is a high category. In Hebrew, it's a low category. It means like peasant.
There you go.
And in Yiddish, it extends that someone who is a peasant is also literally a blockhead. And there's a lot of extension of that, and it's not personable, and it's just. But you also have the other thing Solomon Gomorrah, sort of, you're going to save these people if you find so many people who don't know their left from their right. Children. So is this saying that children should be vegetarian only as they get older?
That's a good idea. Like where you going with it?
It's easy to raise questions.
Yeah, it's the answer.
That's another reason you're last. Child won't be the rules. Yes, and you certainly know
Okay, 1 more minute, guys. 1 more minute. 2 more minutes. I'll give you 2. So, what is the message here? What's going on? What are they talking about?
Portion not to eat meat because they're not wealthy enough to eat it. They don't deserve to eat it. Only the wealthy people who sit out of university.
Could be. Right. What about the? And I want to ask you for a future. What's that?
It's just being phrased in terms of the life.
It's interesting. If we eat vegetarian meat and you want to Ora Torah, then it's good.
Yeah, no, I did.
well, no, it's not.
The discussion about when meat
Because 2 years old, 3 years old, infants. Understand something.
I mean, there's some, well, it's interesting people of the I don't know about that. Or in Israel.
I know, 5 more minutes. 20 seconds, 20 seconds. I'm going to be picking on the back groups because they've been the most quiet. So you better have something intelligent to say.
Stay quiet, stay
No,
quiet.
you guys.
All right, guys. All right, we're going to bring it in. So, just to reiterate, sorry, I didn't introduce source number 10 very well. Source number 10 is from the Tanya, which is a book that was written by Rabbi Shneur Zalman, if I'm pronouncing that really bad, the founder of the Chabad Chassidim. So Chabad uses today as their kind of core sort of mystical work, I guess you could call it. Messianic. No, but we love Chabad.
You are recorded. You're being recorded.
Can I take that out? I actually really like Chabad. But anyway, no, the book itself is actually one of the more prevalent Jewish works on Jewish philosophy and mysticism, and also incorporates large amounts of practical elements as well, and how they are revealed in the mystical sources. So it's studied in yeshivas all around the world. So in this particular part, in chapter 7, the part that is quoted here, is talking about spiritual, the ability to be spiritually realized and things like this, very deep concepts. But then it starts on this tangent going to talk about meat on Shabbat. So I'm going to ask the back group over there first, what did you take out of these two sources? What did you interpret? What are they saying here?
Source 9 and source 10.
Yeah. We'll pick one.
Okay,
What
source
is it?
9,
Yeah.
I thought perhaps it was saying that those who are educated in the study of the Torah may eat meat because they understand how to kill it, or there's certain rules around it, whereas those that don't because
Interesting. So you'd say purely on a practical level, if you don't know how to kill an animal, you don't know how to prepare a kosher meal, you don't know how to make chicken soup, you can't. You're forbidden, right? That's what you're saying? But if you do know the Torah, you do know the law, you are entitled to eat because you appreciate the
you
law.
understand the certain rules.
Okay, very good. Back group over there, what are your thoughts? There's always one. Okay, fair enough. I knew there were some very interesting points coming from here and here, as always. So, you want to share your point, please?
Well, just that there was a stratified society. The peasants were not allowed to eat meat, and the elites were. Because if you had the ability to study the Torah, you were not working.
Okay.
And it was just justification for the stratification. The 1%ers could eat meat.
Right.
And the 99% couldn't.
Okay, all right.
Except there were a lot of
Yeah, over here, yeah.
Except there were a lot of people in that other 99% who still had that same gradation of understanding. I think what it, again, is there are people among any society who cannot know those distinctions. They haven't had time to learn them yet, i.e. very, very young children. But it's as they get older and as they can appreciate notions of mortality and animal welfare and animal service and where the meat comes from, etc. As that broadens and deepens, then their involvement in eating meat may similarly increase, with the assumption that we'll go through the Jewish education of Shechita.
So you're saying as one grows up and develops and educates themselves on Jewish topics and Torah, as they then become...
In short, children should be vegetarian until they're old enough to appreciate the implications of this other food source.
But the Anharats were the farmers. They would intimately know all there was to know about animals, and the guy sitting and reading the Torah would know nothing.
Yeah, but even a 6-month-old kid of a peasant would still not know those things.
Yeah, but that's, the
And it's
Anharats...
as they get older and as they become aware of these things, then it may.
So you're saying?
Aha is just in the present dog.
Well, we can take it in two ways. We can either say what the lingo was at the time, which is the peasant people, or you can take it for the literal meaning, the people of the land. It could mean anything. So it could literally mean the people that live in a land, dwell in an area, and therefore your idea could be very relevant.
Yiddish, Amhara, so the equivalent in Yiddish, and I'm trying to remember the term, goes far beyond the peasants and just saying, yeah, well, they're the idealized, ignorant people, but it's really the ignorance, not the fact that they're on the land. That is highlighted in the term.
Okay. All right. Any other ideas?
Yeah. Oh, sorry. No.
Well, this is built on what you were saying about the children. If people are educated and are following the Torah and are slaughtering them for purifying in a good way, then they're doing that for the children, so the children can eat the meat because you don't have to drink properly. So children learn from their parents, they learn by what their parents do without understanding the age of truth, but as they're getting older, they learn why.
And if you don't teach your children, how will they know when they grow up to teach their children?
That's the whole process that I'm reading into this.
Okay. Very nice. Yeah. Okay.
Just to build off what Hal was saying, that the people of the land know more about the animals than the people studying the Torah. I think in a practical sense, yes, but building on source number 10, that you're eating for the service of, to broaden your mind for the service of God, so that transformation of the eating of the animal into a spiritual activity or that can only be understood if you have studied the Torah.
But that was written by Schneerson in what year?
Not Schneerson. I'll give it a year. Hold on.
We're talking about relatively modern.
By Rabbi Schneer Zalman of Lealdi. First published in 1797. But of course, you've got to remember that the Tanya,
very post.
for sure, but it builds on Jewish traditional sources. Correct. So I'm going to sum up all these ideas, and I think Michelle was actually right where I was thinking, but you guys had very good points too. Doesn't mean you're wrong. But what we're seeing here is the appreciation. Yeah, you're not wrong, but you're wrong. What you're seeing here is...
Not wrong, but you're not right either.
If it was possible to fail, you would have.
You're right also.
Yes.
No, you're wrong.
Thank you, Tevye. Thank you, Tevye.
But so the idea here is if you're a simple person and you don't have access to education, and when I mean education, I mean Torah education, Jewish values, you haven't been brought up with the spiritual understanding and the spiritual awareness of purpose in life and animals' relationship to human beings, all the stuff that we've been discussing tonight, then you have no right to take from the animals. Because at the end of the day, that would just be a material action. It's an animal, I'm hungry, I kill it, gone. There's no emotional, no moral, no spiritual element to that decision. It's purely almost instinctual. I'm hungry, I kill an animal, I eat. No sensitivity. But if you dwell in Torah and you learn Jewish values and you educate yourself and you rise above, the average person in terms of your own spiritual understanding of things, then you appreciate, animal has soul. I kill the animal, the soul goes away, the animal feels pain. That's not very good. That's destroying a creature of God. That's not very good. But on the one hand, I'm allowed to use it for food, for leather. Okay. You start to appreciate the relationship that you have with the animal.
It's okay as long as you're guilty about it.
When an Eskimo kills a seal, they do the same thing.
So
They
that might
thank
be
the seal, they ask it for its permission, they go visit its ancestors.
Eskimo.
So that would be in a Jewish perspective.
No,
acceptable.
They ask permission.
Whether they reduce the pain or not.
They're French Canadians. I hear that one.
They don't know the Torah. The peasants, the Amharites, might do the same thing.
Hey, but wait a minute. Let's back up a little bit. We're always referring to Torah because this is the way God presented the rules to us, as us. There is nothing in any of Judaism that I've been able to find that doesn't say that other people have been given similar sets of prohibitions.
But what I was objecting to was Daniel's assumption that the Am Haaretz would just do it because of instinct. If a bunch of Eskimos who've never heard of the Torah can do it...
Yeah, but they've been given principles too. I think it's the thoughtlessness that is the objection.
But why would the farmer...
I will answer you. First of all, whenever we talk about a story like this about Am Haaretz, generally refers to the Jewish people because we're talking about the Jewish tradition. However, the non-Jews, according to the Jewish tradition, have seven sets of laws, I guess, but seven laws that they are also obligated to follow. One of them is all about the treatment of animals. The text says something like, you're not allowed to take the limb off a live animal, something like that. So, once again, animal rights or obligations towards animals are emphasized, even to non-Jews. And when I say 7 sets of laws, I mean there's a title and then there's a whole bunch of sub-laws under that explain in more detail how that works. So this text is probably referring to Jews more specifically, but in the broader context, it can be applied to all people.
No, I was just saying, why are you saying that these particular Jews were instinctual, whereas the Jews who know the Torah are...
Oh, no, okay. Because I'm taking the interpretation as Am Haaretz as someone who's just a person who's not necessarily educated. They're not spiritually aware. They might be the most intellectual person in the world, but they haven't realized their own spiritual potential.
It's like in the shtetl, it's like Fiddler on the Roof. It's because tradition. You've done it because your father did it, and his father did it, and it's just part of the... that's the type of person it is.
No. I'll make it even more specific than that, but yes.
So essentially, it comes down to this. I'll just summarize. The purpose of... we'll go back right to the beginning. Remember I talked about the primary creatures and the secondary creatures, and how the secondary creatures are a support network for the primary creatures? So the primary creatures, in other words, us human beings, have the ability to choose and therefore realize our own spiritual potential by educating, by doing good deeds, etc. The secondary creatures are there to support that process. So these two texts are talking about how that works. You have the privilege of eating meat, according to Jewish law, if you are aware of how that meat will help you, so how the secondary creature will help you, the primary creature, in realizing some sort of spiritual potential. And it goes even further. Every single particle in this universe can be realized spiritually, whatever that means. How does that work? Well, let's start at the top. The human goes out to kosher McDonald's, right? And he goes and orders a burger, kosher burger, of course. The meat is from a kosher animal. We'll drop the word kosher, you get the point. Anyway, the meat is from an animal. The animal eats grass. The grass grows in dirt. The dirt is filled with nutrients, which are made up of subatomic particles, etc., all the way down, for infinity. That whole process is a spiritual food chain. By eating the meat for a spiritual purpose, so in the case of the Tanya, to elevate the Shabbat experience, to bring some level of spirituality into Shabbat, by doing that, you've elevated that whole food chain all the way down to the subatomic particle. And that is how each of those stages, those levels, realize their potential. So it's actually two ways. On the one hand, the secondary creatures are a support for us. But on the other hand, by eating them in the right context and using them in the right context, we actually help elevate the animal itself. So it's a two-way relationship. And that is the core of the Jewish attitude towards animals. Now, I'm going to finish with one other quick topic. How would have time?
You've got 5 minutes, but if you quickly want to finish your two sources.
Okay, yeah, we'll go real quick. Let's see what they are. Okay, this is a really, really huge topic, but I'm going to summarize it in 5 minutes. I'm no expert on this either, but it's all about animals being used for medical purposes. So I'll raise the question to the group. Do you think, after everything that we've learned today, that it's acceptable to use an animal for testing or experimentation for the benefit of human health?
As long as the animals aren't treated in a cruel manner, and it's for the benefit of human health, not for makeup or
Okay,
other purposes.
so only for health and not cruel.
Yeah.
What about if it is extremely cruel, but it has a very clear benefit to human health?
I'm sure it's gonna die a rather miserable death.
Yeah.
We need that in order to
Cure cancer.
cure cancer.
What do you think?
Well, there's the notion of, and also the notion of that hierarchy of spiritual life. Yeah.
So you would say
The lower orders support the higher orders.
Okay, yeah. Yes?
As you were saying before, like with the animal, like we're elevating the animal and so on.
Yeah.
Even if, like, wouldn't that be the same thing? Like the animal is helping cure cancer. Like,
Yeah.
aren't you elevating the animal?
But still, can you cause so much pain to the animal?
I think it shouldn't be allowed because where do you draw the line? Say, if I take this little piece of this giant animal.
The notion of Hermosa is it necessary? The initial question assumed this was necessary for the benefit.
Right.
But if it's not necessary, there is alternative.
Okay. Well, how about the example of a blood transfusion or a kidney donation that causes pain to another person for the benefit of another person? Is that allowed?
But that person can choose. They can choose, right? The animal can't choose. The person can choose to donate a kidney, right? Animal.
But you can't harm yourself technically. But if it's to save a life,
Yes.
according to Halakha, it's
But
different.
So does it apply to animals?
Choice.
What would you think?
The animal doesn't have a choice.
You think if it's to save a life of a human being, can we
I know
cause
you
pain to
can,
them?
you can transfer lungs from chimpanzees or pork to human beings.
Yeah, from pig.
Very simple.
Pig.
Pig heart valves,
Very similar.
which are put into the.
So I think yes, if it's
It
too
says
safe,
it says you can do it.
Yes.
It says right there. You can do it.
Okay, so let's look at the source. Talmud in Chulin, 85 side B. It says, the flax of Rav Chaya was infested with worms.
Flesh.
Flax. As the plant. Was infested with worms, and he came to Rabbi for advice. Rabbi said to him, take a bird and slaughter it over a tub of water so that the worms will smell the blood and depart. Now this sounds really
And then you
demonic.
presumably spray that mixture on the.
I'm not sure of the exact
Sounds a bit like
practicalities.
slinging a chicken over your head.
But in those times, the way you got worms out of flax was exactly this method. That was the norm thing to do. This particular Rav Chia didn't know that, so he asked his rabbi. And he asked, is it acceptable? The rabbi says yes. So the question is why, and the answer is the flax was a material that this particular person used to create a livelihood. Without it, they could not sell their baskets. They could not make their baskets, they could sell them, they'd have no money to feed their kids. So in this case, it's not even to help a human being live, it's for livelihood. It seems to be acceptable. But let's look at the next source. Shulchan Aruch, Ibn Ha'ezer. So the Shulchan Aruch, of course, is the codified work of Jewish law. It, summarizing all the different laws. And it says, this is the Rema, this is the Ashkenaz gloss to the Shulchan Aruch. He says, anything that is necessary for medical purposes or for anything else is exempt from the prohibition of causing suffering to animals. Therefore, it is permitted to pluck the quills of live geese without concern for the suffering of animals. That was a method they used to use for some medical purpose, I don't know. Nevertheless, people refrain from doing so because it would be cruel. And in fact, Rabbi Yaakov Breish, who's one of the more modern authorities on medical ethics in Judaism, says, he says animal experimentation is forbidden in the case where the use of human science is negligible or trivial. Meaning, if you can't see a direct possibility to help somebody, you are forbidden from hurting the animal, and that's in accordance with the Rema's comments in the Shulchan Aruch.
Yes, cosmetics don't count.
Exactly.
Although
Cosmetics
we
are the
get
word.
into a delicate issue here.
Yep.
Should we have tested hair shampoo on animals? Because you could argue hair shampoo is almost a cosmetic.
Does it hurt the animal? Well, it could potentially hit animals.
It will have silky
So what do you think? Do you think that the ruling would be yes or no? Or do you think it's too correct?
Well, my colleague here says only if it has dandruff.
Well, shampoo.
Or shampoo doesn't save your life, so go get a human who consents to be tested on.
I like that. I'm sure the rabbis will agree.
Before shampoo.
It says for anything else. What is that?
That is a good question. I wondered that as I was reading it.
Cosmetics.
I mean,
Probably.
you could say cosmetics is something else. Why not?
What's necessary for something?
I would argue, well, my advice is if you want to know what those sort of phrases mean, get yourself a Shulchan Aruch with a Mishnah Berurah commentary, find the right place, get someone to translate it, and it will answer your question. No, I don't have the
You
commentary.
already did it for us.
I missed the commentary.
No, it's a hell of a lot more involved.
Yeah. Any other comments or questions before I sum up for today? Tonight? All right, I'll just sum up really quickly. So what we learned today is the only tip of the iceberg here. This is only the tip of the iceberg in the Jewish perspective of animal rights, or as we've come to understand, it's more about human obligation towards animals. It's about balance. Halacha, oleh, the way we go, the balance factor. On the one hand, yes, we can use animals to help us for our livelihood, to eat. On the other hand, remember, they are not just automatons, they are living beings. They feel pain, and we must be sensitive to that. We must also be sensitive to the fact that we should not be striving to destroy a whole species. We should be doing everything in moderation, everything in balance. And the most important thing is to appreciate the beauty of the spiritual food chain.
If you're from, you have to vote green.
Could be. Maybe. But yes, so the spiritual food chain, primary creatures, human beings at the top, animals are the secondary support creatures, and they help this whole spiritual elevation occur right from the smallest particle to the greatest intellectual and everything in between. So I wish you all the best.
Thank you very, very much, Daniel. And that was a fantastic lecture. Daniel is giving 2 more lectures during the next couple of months. Actually, he'll be giving one next month and one the following month on different topics. Next week it's yours truly. Please come and support, and please tell your friends what wonderful food you've eaten here tonight, what a great ambiance this is, so we can get as much support as possible for Ora Torah. Thank you very much.
Round of applause for Michelle.